Hi, I'm Ward Blackwell. Welcome to Front Street 411. We just fell back last weekend, and in addition to changing your clocks, you were also supposed to change the battery in your smoke detector, as we reminded you some 4 years ago. This is the time to set your clocks back 1 hour. And it's also a good time to replace that battery in your smoke detector. See you next time. Yep, important safety tip. Wear earplugs when changing the smoke alarm battery. Anyway, the extra hour of sleep last week was much appreciated after several eventful days at the ADA House of Delegates meeting in DC. Your PDA delegation worked really hard to get the best possible outcomes in a year when passions were running high. It's a lot to try and untangle it all for you, and in the end, it was hard to make sense of some of it. For example, while two candidates for ADA President-elect were finishing out their terms on the ADA board and had been campaigning for months, the delegates sent a message by electing someone who only got into the race officially on the first day of the House. And hours later, the delegates voted to eliminate a program with which the new president-elect had been very involved. Other noteworthy actions included adopting a new AI policy, speeding up a governance study, working out pediatric anesthesia guidelines, studying the potential for a national version of PGY1, and combating dental student food insecurity. Now, quite a few resolutions were referred to the appropriate ADA agencies. And that basically just means that they will be studied further, and if those agencies to which they are referred find it appropriate to do so, they'll be brought back to the House with more information. The HOD also rejected leaving FDI, forming a dentist union, taking budget authority away from the board, and PDA's resolution about delegate allocation. Now, on that last one, PDA could claim a symbolic victory. A 2/3 vote was needed, but only 58% of the delegates voted for it. But that means that a majority had the same concerns as PDA about the accuracy of the data in the ADA's new software system. And frankly, much of what transpired over the course of the HOD meetings was driven by concerns about the ADA's finances, including the cost of purchasing and now fixing that software system. For example, the ADA Treasurer's report, that was made to a packed house, and he made it clear that the cost of the software was a major factor contributing to the decline in ADA reserves. But it was far from the only issue. For instance, the House voted to reduce annual dues significantly for 2024 and left them alone for 2025 despite, one, the ADA running deficits for the 2 prior years, and 2, a standing ADA policy of defaulting to small annual dues increases equal to the inflation rate in order to stabilize revenue and avoid the need for larger increases. At the time, there were assurances of those deficits being covered by larger increases of revenue from other sources. Hindsight being 2020, that would seem overly optimistic based on what's happened since. But all that does explain why the House decided to increase ADA dues for 2026 to slightly more than what they were in 2023, but still less than they would have been had they gone with the annual inflation adjustments every year since. On the brighter side, your PDA dues are not increasing. And with our governance streamlining from a 4-level organization to just 3 levels, some of you could actually see little change and maybe even a drop in your total dues bill. And PDA is holding the line on your dues even while adding new benefits like in-depth financial education, free legal advice, and lead apron disposal, all while positioning ourselves to soon win another round in our push for dental insurance reform. Anyway, I'll have more on all that next time. Till then, I'd like to acknowledge the special day that Tuesday is by sincerely thanking all our members who've been in uniform. Thank you so much for your service. We'll see you next time.